Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Average Joe Strongman Show, episode number 5. So we got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to hinge on back onto the keto we talked about last week. I got a couple extra people. I'm hoping they're going to be able to join us from the medical side of it to give us their 2 cents. We got a lot of feedback off of that last week, since last week's podcast. So we're going to jump back into that again. Then I'm going to segue into, like I had originally planned last week, into the vertical diet. And I've got a very close buddy of mine that is doing that. So we'll get his insight on how that is and how it varies from keto. But first, again, same disclaimers every week. I'm not an expert, don't claim to be an expert. All I'm doing with this show is trying to grow the sport, get more people involved, and throw out some information that is valuable to the average Joe strongman or strongwoman. And, the opinions that I express during this series or anybody that I talk to are solely our opinions and should not be taken any other way than our opinion. And all we can say is try it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Everybody, there's not a one programming diet strongman thing that fits all, so we're just trying to share information for what works for us. And anything I say during this podcast, anything that anybody else says on this podcast or any of the companies that we talk about is not the express views of River City Barbell or any business that we mention in the content of this series. So I say that every time because I want everybody to understand that. Secondly, I am not politically correct. I may use foul language, and my guests may use foul language during this podcast, so if you have small children around, then please hide them. All right, getting into it. Before I get into the, very quickly into the upcoming events, I want to take a minute and talk about a company that's most of you may know about. Some of you, if you don't, then I'm going to tell you about it anyway because it's worth talking about. I got 2 very dear friends of mine that have started an organization called Omega Strength, Kris McClain and Becky Wilson. They are fantastic people, and their Omega Strength business is wrapped around supporting athletes, and not just strongman athletes, Highland Games athletes, powerlifters, everybody. For you guys that know Becky Wilson, she's attended several strongman competitions, and she saved my life at USS Nationals in 2016 after the Conan's wheel. My left calf cramped up, and I thought I was done. I seriously thought I was going to have to drop because I could not get rid of this cramp, and it was debilitating. I limped my way back to my chair, and I had no handler. Everybody that was there that I knew was competing or helping. My wife was there. Both my daughters were there. Jordan was competing. Cameron and Deb were helping. Rob and Davia with the event. Jim was competing. So I'm like, I got to do this myself. Eating a banana is not going to do it. Becky saw me limping back to my chair, and she had a person on her table and says, "You're next." And took me over, and within 5 minutes had me back to 100%, and I was right back out there and ended up taking 2nd overall in Heavyweight Masters. And if it was not for her, I would have had to drop after the Conan's Wheel event. Without anybody's worked with her, had them work on her, or had her work on you, knows that she's just a magician. I mean, from a flexibility standpoint, there's nobody that understands it better than her, in my opinion. So she's sharing her knowledge. Kris has been doing a lot of research on flexibility himself, and they've already posted a couple videos on their Facebook page and website. So get on Facebook, search Omega Strength, and support their cause. They also sell apparel, t-shirts, shorts, that type of stuff. I just ordered a shirt for myself. Support that cause because they're there for the athletes, and they're looking to support the athletes. So make sure that you're supporting them, and that's, pretty much the same reason that I'm doing this show is to spread the awareness of strongman and try to get more people involved. And people like Kris and Becky are the ones that make it easier for us, especially us old guys that are just happy to be doing it. So reach out and check them out, Omega Strength. Okay, so recap upcoming events. Last weekend was a little event at Pig Fest in Walton. That was a lot of fun. We had the finger car deadlift and a log press. We had quite a few random people come up and inquire about it. A lot of people were scared of it. But the people that got out there and tried it were really impressive. Gave away some prizes from Muscle Gear USA. That was awesome. And, we had a lot of fun. So that was fun. And then this weekend, Saturday, June 23rd at River City Barbell is our Iron Asylum Summer Team Showdown. Right now we've got teams signed up for heavyweight women's, middleweight men's, and heavyweight men's. Heavyweight men's class is going to be a duke out. That's probably our biggest class right now for teams. Registration is still open. We're expecting more people to sign up day of, and you're more than welcome to sign up day of. So if you got this on your list, you're not doing anything this weekend, you got a buddy, come on down and sign up. It's $80 per team. The events are stop. It's the heat. Stand by. Let me rehydrate. Max log press, max 18-inch deadlift. One teammate will pick either event. So one will do max log press, one will do max deadlift, one will do max log press. We'll combine the scores, which will be the total weight. So if one guy gets a 300-pound log press, one guy gets a 1,000-pound max 18-inch deadlift, their combined score is 1,300 points, and they'll be scored accordingly. Second event is a farmer's yoke medley. One person on the farmers, one person on the yoke. Yoke down 60 feet, run over, tag your partner, farmer's back 60 feet, fastest time. Next event will be Car Hercules hold, but it'll be teams. So you guys that got to see this Car Hercules hold last year at our Muscle Gear event, it'll just be two people holding onto two cars instead of one person holding on two cars. So that'll be fun. Smaller cars for the women's class, and we got SUVs lined up for the men's classes, so that'll be fun. And then finally we're going to do stone over bar. Standard stone over bar, but one guy on each side of the yoke throwing the stone back and forth to each other, max rep 60 seconds. So that should be a lot of fun this weekend. That's this Saturday at River City Barbell. If you want more information on that, go on to Facebook. There's an event page. Just search Iron Asylum Strongman Summer Team Showdown. And then 21st of July at Beyond Limits, Chris McClain is doing Unspeakable Strength. That's the massively heavy competition where if you think you can lift like a pro, go to Chris's comp and figure out if you can, because he's got all the weights there for you. His weights are barely below the pro weights from the Arnold this year. Last year was a blast. Some heavy weights lifted there last year. Some impressive feats of strength. And then 28th of July is our RPS Summer Slaughter at River City Barbell. That's a powerlifting comp. I think there is still a couple slots open for that one. So if you're interested in that one, register now because they're almost capped out. And that'll be River City Barbell. It's an RPS sanctioned powerlifting comp. Refuge Barbell Strongman Classic, Derek Stone's competition, August 4th. We got 3 athletes from River City. They're going to be competing in that comp. I'm going down to beat my cane in my wheelchair and scream. So throwing wrenches, if you can dodge a wrench, you can do strongman. So I'll be down there. Derek Stone puts on a great show. He's got a great venue. So I'm actually going to try to get Derek on here in the next couple weeks to talk about that comp. But that's August 4th down in Madisonville, Kentucky. And you can go to strongmancorporation.com if you want information on that event. And then August 11th, the following weekend is a Big Phil Classic at the Hall of Heroes Iron Gym in Lancaster. It's another Chris Vaccio competition. That's in remembrance of Big Phil Brown. And then September 29th is the Fall Throwdown Powerlifting Comp at River City Barbell. That's another RPS sanctioned comp. That one still has openings as well. But if you can't make the fall or the Summer Slaughter on the 28th, then definitely get signed up for that one. It's on September 29th. And you want information on the powerlifting meets, they're at, you can go to River City Barbell's website, www.rivercitybarbell.com. And then finally, Saturday, September 1st, this Saturday of Labor Day this year, is going to be our big event of the year. It's the Iron Asylum's Warriors Call. That is going to be a dual event. So it will be a team event and an individual event. So I'm going to have it set up either way. The events are applicable to where I can do them with teams or individuals. So if you want to sign up as a team, boom. If you don't, you want to do it individually, fine. Awesome. That'll be a USS sanctioned competition. It'll be a 2019's national qualifier. That's going to be a press medley, which will be, for those of you that did Florence Strength Challenge 2 with me back a few years ago, it'll be log press, axle press, and then concrete block. We did that a couple years ago, and that was a blast. Second event will be axle deadlift for reps. Third event will be the car Hercules hold. You get to see that this weekend. And then truck pull. It'll be a harness truck pull with a rope assist. I've got a buddy of mine that I used to train with at Fitworks that owns a trucking company. He's going to get us a semi for the big boys. And we're going to have a 1-ton dually truck for the women's classes. So that will be a lot of fun. And then finally, Atlas Stone Series. 5-stone series for the men, 4-stone series for the women. So get your entries in. Actually, I didn't check that. I need to check. It should be up live on the USS website. But I've got it posted. The event matrix is out there, and the event descriptions are out there. Just search Iron Asylum Strongman's Warrior Call, and you'll find it on Facebook, the event page, so go check that out. And that'll be September 1st. That's the Saturday of Labor Day this year. And that's it for the upcoming events. So let's get back on the subject that we were on last week when we were talking about keto, the keto diet, ketogenic diet. We had a lot of good feedback. I had my brother Cliff on, which I'm going to bring on here again in a minute. And then there's two ladies that train with us at River City Barbell that are registered nurses that had some insight to that as well. But I want to go back through briefly what we started talking about last week as far as the ketogenic diet. And I've been on it. This is my 6th week. I'm down just over 20 pounds. Feel good. Food choices are there. We haven't even started scratching the surface on all the opportunities for different foods we can eat on this diet. But basically, for those who didn't join us last week, the ketogenic diet is basically a low-carb diet. It is low carbohydrates, medium-range protein, and high fat. Balancing that is a challenge, which I found out a couple weeks ago. But once you get that stabilized and can do that consistently, then everything seems to work. We had a lot of discussion about staying in ketosis. I've been confused about it. My brother's got his side of it that I'm going to bring up. We'll talk about that again briefly. Staying in ketosis, burning ketones, how that affects your weight loss, how it affects your energy, how it affects your training. You know, it's a challenge, and I haven't been back. I mean, obviously, for those of you who don't know, I had rotator cuff surgery back at the end of April, so I'm still in the recovery phase of that. So I haven't been doing any heavy training. It's been very, very light training, and I don't see any difference. But when I get back into the heavy side of it, how is that going to affect me? Which is, you know, been the target around a lot of what we've been talking about. But let's see if we can get my brother on here real quick. See if I can find him. Now, since last week and the previous weeks, trying not to have any technical difficulties this week. So there he is. What up, brother?
What up, man?
So some of the technical difficulties we had last week, I've learned by trial and error that number one, to do these podcasts, I have to be using my iPad, which we are, because here's my phone. I used my phone last week, and when I had bought you on a couple weeks ago, it was fine as long as he was on. As soon as I turned him off, sound went away. So now I'm on my iPad. I've got the Shure MV88 microphone going, and all my guests, when I add them, they're staying on until it's done, so they can go do whatever after. But I'm not sure.
Good idea.
We're going to hope to have a technical difficulty-free podcast for the rest of this one anyway.
Good.
So dude, are you on your bike?
Yeah, I'm just warming up.
Okay.
Got tired of waiting for you.
Yeah, whatever. So let's get on to last week. Amanda, and I'm going to try to get Amanda to come on here. She's hopefully she's going to be done with her bike ride. Actually, she's out riding her bike. As soon as she gets back, she's going to join us. And then Seisha, I'm going to see if I can get her on as well today because they're both registered nurses and they both had some interesting feedback. Now, Amanda was saying last week, commented, and Cliff, you were kind of going back and forth with her on it. What was she talking about? That something about ketoacidosis, like that?
Yeah, she just said to make sure that you be careful about that the condition called ketoacidosis.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's just I'm not sure. I mean, I know it's a life-threatening condition that you can get into. What I've researched is mainly type 1 diabetics. She says that she's seen a lot of type 2 diabetics with that condition, so that's really intrigued me on it. And I would love to hear more from her about that. But mainly it's for your diabetics to worry about it. Obviously, I think anybody can probably get it, but from what I understand is it's mainly prevalent in type 1. It's rare in type 2. She tends to disagree because she says she's seen a lot of cases with it. So that's why I would like to, hear her side of it and get more information on that. It's obviously me having type 2 diabetes is something to worry about.
Right. I agree. Yeah, hopefully she'll join us here. Actually, I'm going to check real quick and see if she's on. And she is not yet. So,
right. And Chris Vaccio had a good point. Ketoacidosis and ketosis is not the same thing. Ketosis is, your body's starting to create.
Hang on. Damn it. Amanda's on. I'm going to try to bring her on. Hang on. I am technically an idiot here, so hang on. Damn it. I can see. Okay, she lost the feed temporarily. Anyway, so let me see if I can. Let me see if I can get at least Vaccio on because I want to talk to him about. What the hell is going on? I want to, because Vaccio's doing the vertical diet, so I want to get his input on that as well.
Okay.
Okay, for some reason it's not letting me select anybody to add them because you're on, but I thought we could add multiple people, but anyway. So,
well, why don't you disconnect with me and bring him on, and we can let him talk.
Hopefully, I won't lose sound, but let me try it. Stand by, people. Come on. Let me, for some reason. Okay, I got an invite out to Amanda. Let's see if she can join. But anyway, back to the subject. One of the things that we talked about last week was, we spent a lot of time on keto, but there's another diet that I'm going to have Vaccio come on here in a minute and talk about. It's called the vertical diet that he's been on for a while. And it's different from keto. I don't think it's a low-carb diet. It's just a different structure of what you're eating and when you eat it. And that's really, from a strongman perspective, everybody's got a diet that they're following. Some guys don't follow any diet. I haven't been until now, but it was instilled into me for a reason that, I wanted to lose some fat so I can move faster on moving events. Amanda's here. Hang on. Try this again. I think she's maybe connecting. Amanda, there she is.
Hi!
Howdy.
I lost you. You were looping over the first 5
minutes. I'm trying to minimize these technical difficulties, but they keep plaguing me for some reason. So anyway, I had my brother on. We were talking a little bit, and I know that you had made mention last week about ketoacidosis. So tell us what you were talking about when we're talking about keto and what the concerns are. And by the way, Amanda Jones is she's a strongman competitor, strongwoman competitor, and she's been down training with us a few times, and she is also a registered nurse. So
I'm a nurse practitioner.
Whatever, close enough. You're more medically educated than we are, so we're gonna take your word for it. So anyway, so talk to us about ketoacidosis, what the concerns are as far as keto goes. At least
well, the one thing I wanted to clear up was there's two different things, and I think Kris pointed this out earlier. There's ketosis.
Yep.
Okay, which is you put yourself in ketosis and it's low. You're forming ketones, but you're not doing real damage. Then there's ketoacidosis, which mainly happens to diabetics. When we were on that topic last week, I was concerned because when you are diabetic, okay, and you're not using ketone is a byproduct of burning off fat. It turns into an acid.
Okay.
When you're diabetic and you take on extra carbs, let's say you're in this diet, okay? If you're in the diet and you're working out or you're training, you're burning the ketones. So there's very little to really worry about. The main thing is if you stop working at the level that you were working at and you're diabetic and you start bringing on more carbs and your sugars get more uncontrolled, then you're at risk for diabetic ketoacidosis. That's what I put out there. That's what I was trying to put out there last week, and I don't think we were getting the point across because we were over chat.
Okay, so then let me try to make sure that I can put it in my ignorant brain layman's terms because I'm not smart like you are. So let me put it in the dumb guy's way of saying it. So if I heard what you said correctly, then because I'm type 2 diabetic just like my brother, so if I'm on the keto diet, which I am, and I am, let's say I'm following the keto diet as it's designed, so it's low carb, medium protein, high fat. I'm in ketosis, at least according to the strips that I pee on. And my workout levels now, because I'm not released to train fully from surgery, has been very light. As long as I'm on the diet, even though I'm not training heavy, then I'm okay, or I'm more at risk.
As long as you're using that ketone as a fuel source, okay? The minute you stop using the ketones, as long as you're burning them, okay? If the minute you stop burning them and you start taking in the carbs, it was when that puts you at risk for the DKA. If your sugars were pretty well managed before, then you're at lower risk, okay? It can happen. I think your brother asked me a question last week and I never really got to get back to it. It can happen in type 2s. It can. Now, type 2 on ketogenic, if he's watching, that is rare. What I was talking about was diabetic in DKA. So I want to clarify that.
Okay.
He's watching. That was my clarification. Okay. I was referring to diabetic in DKA, not diabetic in DKA with ketogenic diet.
I got you. Okay.
So, and that's basically what I was trying to get across is just be very careful because if you're training, you're using that ketone as a fuel. That's your fuel because you don't have your carbs that you're using as a fuel. Also, being diabetic, you already at higher risk for end organ damage. So when you put yourself in ketosis, you got to realize that you are also using a protein that is a large protein and it can affect your kidneys because those proteins aren't filtered out by the kidneys correctly. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that too, is that you put yourself at higher risk for renal failure or kidney failure if you sustain a long-term acidotic state. So you kind of need to give your body a break. I'm not saying it's a bad diet. It's got
Sure.
benefits
Right.
out the water.
It's just
I just want to make sure.
It's just a high
Yes.
risk for diabetics, right?
Yes. You just want to make sure that you balance your benefit and your risk with the diet being a diabetic.
I got you. Now, Baccio said, and that makes a lot of sense too. He said you need to be careful bringing carbs back into the picture if you're diabetic,
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah.
So let me throw another variable at you. So I've also heard and read in several of the books that I've read on the keto diet that, you know, it shouldn't be something that you're doing long term. Okay.
It should.
So let's look at it in my situation. So I'm a type 2 diabetic. I'm on keto. I shouldn't be on it for the reasons you were talking about, especially like the protein issue with, you know, kidney damage, liver damage, whatever. So let's say, okay, I'm going to go on this for 90 days, and then I'm going to go off of it for 2 weeks. And I'm going to go back on 90 days. I'm going to come off it for 2 weeks or whatever. That's just one of the cycles that I saw where it was 90 on, 14 days off, 90 on, 14 days off.
Right.
So is there a risk from the diabetic standpoint, if I'm diabetic, that when I go off, then I probably need to slowly reintroduce the carbs back into my diet, right?
Yes.
Rather than,
and watch your sugar.
Rather than, you know, Sunday I'm done with keto. Monday it's, you know, hog wild supersize at McDonald's, right? It's not.
Right.
So,
no.
And you said watch your sugar as you're transitioning. Is that, yeah,
yes.
Should be. So
yeah, because
then what's the indicator? Is it that my blood sugar would go high then?
Yes, you'll see if you are having issues with the carb reentry, you will see a huge spike in your sugars. Now, normally with type 2 diabetes, normally something like infection or stress or something of that nature causes your sugars to go higher, and diet, of course. But in addition to, if you're keeping your diet under control, then you have other factors to fight. If you have an infection, if you're sick, or if you have stress or whatever. So when you're re-entering those back in, make sure that you are very, cautious about your sugars and monitoring them closely.
I got you.
Now, the only thing you're going to be able to do, you could pee on the stick, and if you're still in ketosis after you're out, then I would be careful.
I got you. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
anything else based on what we talked about last week that you wanted to comment on, or was that pretty much the biggest concern that you had?
Well, yeah, but basically, like I said, with ketogenic diet, I mean, it started with the epilepsy. It started having benefit to epileptic children, and then that's how they found out. And then they found other ways of introducing the diet and helping other diseases and illnesses. It's a good diet. The only thing is that you have to be careful because you're putting your body in an acidotic state. Human bodies do not like acidosis for long periods. So if you are doing the ketogenic diet, make sure you're burning the ketones. Make sure you're using them as an energy source, because if you don't, then you're going to get yourself in trouble.
I got you. Okay, that makes a lot more sense then. Because I was kind of confused, initially, because that was my original perception. Was, okay, I'm peeing on the sticks, I'm making ketones, I'm good, right? But unless you're burning those ketones, you're actually doing probably more damage than good eventually, right? I think you froze up. Maybe. Okay. So exactly what I wanted to try to clarify from last week, because it's really difficult to anybody that goes on a specific regimented diet impacts to what your strength level is, what your mental state is. I mean, like I said, this is week 6 for me on keto, and I feel great. My mental clarity is great. A lot of benefits from it. But again, the difference between where I was to where I am now is significant, because, I mean, I was eating like shit before, and now I'm not eating like shit. So it's amazing that I would feel any better. Okay, I lost Amanda, but I'm going to try to bring Cliff back, or Vaccio I can't bring back on yet. But I'm going to bring Cliff back on. Cash, kind of what Amanda said. But, basically there's a lot of different diets out there, obviously, that anybody can join. But keto seems to be one of these things. It seems to be the fad. There he is. Keto seems to be the fad diet currently. And that's why I picked it. I picked it for the reasons of, actually the reason I picked it was because my brother's on it and has been on it. But all right, so what do you think about what Amanda said?
No, I agree with her.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. Those are definitely concerns to watch out for. But like I said, I guess you can assume that if somebody's going to be on the ketogenic diet, they're going to be working out. But you can't assume that. They're going to think that the diet's the way to go. I don't have to do anything else. But like I told you last week, the human body is meant to move. It's not meant to sit still, and eat, food all day. It's meant to move. We're designed to move. If we don't move, we die. And it's probably more complicated than that, but in essence, it's true. You don't stop. You don't stop moving because you get old. You get old because you stop moving.
That's right. Exactly.
That's the way it is.
But I thought that was kind of interesting. That she said, looking at it from a diabetic standpoint, and I've been diabetic for, I've been diabetic, I don't know, 6-7 years, right? So
I've been since 2000. Well, I was diagnosed in 2007.
And I was shortly after you. I was diagnosed right there when I had my motorcycle accident. That's when the doctor said, hey, your sugar's like 525. We need to do a check on you. Now, obviously, she's correct also. If you're sick, if you're under stress, your sugar's going to go up. If you do a test every single time, if you check your sugar in the morning and you're 110, you go work out, you're going to be 140 when you're done. Because you put your body under stress, your sugars are going to go up. That's why they always say if you're type 2 diabetic, never work out when your sugars are high. Because you're going to spike them more. Right.
And I've seen that as being fact. But what I will say is, since I've been on the ketogenic diet, my sugars have been low. They've been spot on.
Yeah.
When I, if I fall off the wagon for a meal, yeah, I see it go up. Okay. But otherwise, I wake up in the morning, 112, 120. Throughout the day, it's 105. And it's probably been the steadiest it's been since I've been diagnosed.
Sure.
I would say. Is it a lifelong, method of eating? For some people it could be. I guess the human body is a funny thing. I know people that have been on it for years and never plan on getting off of it, but they're not diabetic.
Sure.
Okay.
And obviously, the baseline of, you got the same speech I did when they found out I was diabetic is I need to reduce my carb intake, right?
Well, reduce, but they're also telling me, 45 to 60 grams for breakfast and lunch and 75 to 90 grams for dinner. Well, that's a lot of carbs. Right. That's a lot of carbs as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but to the average person, I think about what I was consuming before, on keto.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
I could have close to 100 carbs in one meal, right? It's not astronomical to think. For me, that's a reduction. What they were telling us in the dietary classes and whatever. But
right.
So the baseline of treating diabetes, from a diet standpoint, is reducing your carb intake anyway. So
right.
But this is kind of like a hyper.
And it is similar to the paleo diet. The paleo diet is still low carb.
Yeah.
It's not as low carb. The paleo diet and the ketogenic diet are very similar in a lot of ways. Paleo, you can induce a little bit more carbs, but it's the natural carbs, the I don't know what you want to call it, but more the real foods type of carbs, and then it's lesser fat, very no dairy. Okay, ketogenic, you're more fat, you can have dairy, a lot less carbs, so they're very similar. You're not in ketosis in the paleo diet. You are in the keto diet, obviously. But if you look at the results, if you follow them very closely, your results are going to be similar.
Right. That's what Amanda just said too. She just came back on and said, as long as you cycle it with a rest period, that starts to make a lot more sense.
Right.
Than trying to stay on it, long term. But
right. Which I remember I told you last week, or was it earlier this week? I can't remember that. I was going to start transitioning more to the paleo for a while to see how my body reacts to that. And I haven't done it yet. I'm
Well, what's the segue to that? I mean, how are you?
Well, it's just, I'm cutting down the fats. I'm taking the dairy out of my diet and introducing more carbs like sweet potato, and maybe some higher carb vegetables like, peas, carrots, stuff like that. But basically, still no grains, no simple sugars. I mean, none of that stuff, So it's still a very healthy way of eating,
Right.
just I'm not using, I'm not using fat as an energy source. I'd be using carbohydrates still.
Gotcha.
But, it's just a different way of kind of doing the same thing. So I've been researching that for quite a while as well. I actually researched that before the ketogenic diet. Everybody knows CrossFit. Everybody knows the CrossFit athletes. A lot of those CrossFit, that's kind of where paleo, from what I noticed, that's kind of where paleo came from, was the CrossFit family.
Right.
And it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of CrossFitters are on paleo. But if you notice, like the high-end athletes are introducing more carbs, the better carbs, the rice, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that hinges.
But they're a whole different level than we are. So, I mean, they're
That's
working
what I
out.
said. I start looking like them, then I'll worry about adding more
Right,
carbs.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not worried about high sugar if I have 7% body fat. So.
All right, let me pause you for a minute. Actually, let me look and see if I can get Bocce on here. I want to talk about the vertical diet. Stand by. I'm going to drop you for a minute and I'll bring you back.
All right.
So I'm going to see if I can get Bocce on here. No. It says he's on, but I can't add him. So. Invite him. I already did that. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, Mr. Vaccio, I can't bring him online, but I wanted to talk about the vertical diet, and that's something that actually there's one of the guys at the gym, Joey's on it, I'm pretty sure. And from what I understand, it's really more of you're eating a lot of the same things every day, at least from the same food groups. It also seems to be a very popular diet in the strength community. I think Vaccio is doing it. He went to a seminar in Cincinnati back a few months ago, and Stan Efferding was there. And I believe Stan Efferding is a very big proponent of the vertical diet. Well, God damn it, Vaccio, I can see you commenting, but why the hell can't I bring you online? There's no camera next to your name, so hang on. Try this one more time. Vaccio. No. Dude, you must be doing something wrong on your there. No. I don't know what encrypted crap you got going on. You for some reason. So, but the vertical diet, I pulled a summary up earlier today and was looking at it, and I think it's a good thing to talk about, or at least to get everybody up to speed on what the hell it is. But let me just pull it up here real quick, because I can dual source, because I'm right. Wow, there's a lot of 50-cent words in here. So listen to this crap. Now, if you can figure this out, then you're a better person than me. The vertical diet is a performance-based nutritional framework that starts with a solid foundation of highly bioavailable micronutrients which support a structure of easily digestible macronutrients that can be adjusted specifically to meet your body's demands. Isn't that a bunch of bullshit? Vertical diet is based on whole foods, optimizing gut health, based on correcting nutrient deficiencies, correcting hormone deficiencies. I need hormone help. Improving energy, stamina, endurance, and recovery, and based on a sustainable lifestyle. The Vertical diet's used by amateur pro strongmen women, powerlifters, men, women, CrossFit, pro football, college football, MMA fighters. There's a lot of, and there's a lot of people around it. Eddie Cullen's on it, Mark Bell's on it, but Mark Bell also does his own War on Carbs thing. Hafthor Bjornsson, Brian Shaw, Dan Green. So that's interesting. All right, try one more time. If I can't get Vachi on here, then I'm going to bring Cliff back on to see his sidebar of... Yeah, Vachi, I don't know what the hell is going on, why the hell I can't get you on here, but I'm going to bring Cliff back on. Be able to get a good connection with him. All right, so can't get Vachi on for some reason, but
Okay.
Talking about the vertical diet now. What do you know about it?
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, that's beautiful.
Never heard of it. But it does sound intriguing, I'll tell you that.
But it sounds like it was generated by Stan Efferding, it looks like, or at least he's got a version of it. It seems to me that, Stan says that if you're a high-performing athlete that consumes a lot of carbs, this can lead to a lot of bloating in Stan's eyes, which slows you down and limits performance. Due to this, he's against the consumption of very starchy, slow-digesting carbs that are hard to digest, including wheat, brown rice, beans, and then the high raffinose vegetables, broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower.
Yeah, it's all about gut health. I mean, gut health will if you got leaky gut or any type of inflammation like that, it's going to slow you down. You're going to feel like crap. I mean, it's, I was listening to a podcast today about, I forget what the guy's name is. I'll let you know, but really good podcast about how, everybody has this type of a bacteria in their system that, basically 2.9 out of 3 people have this bacteria that can just be set up at any given time. So if you eat something that you start feeling bloated and you're sitting back unbuttoning your pants, this bacteria is taken over. And it also develops, people with type 2 diabetic, diabetes like you and I with higher sugar, you tend to generate yeast in your system, which causes bloating as well. I mean, it's all inflammation. I mean, the keto diet controls inflammation, paleo controls inflammation. Like I said, it's documented proof that dairy causes inflammation in the body because we are the only mammals that intake milk after infancy. Every other mammal doesn't drink milk, only us. So there's a lot of things to be said about that as well. If you can control your inflammation and keep your gut, healthy, then
right.
It's going to be a win-win everywhere. So.
Okay, so, dude, I'm going to kill you for a minute because I just see Kris McClain just joined. I'm going to see if I can get him to come on. Hang on. All right. Come on, Kris, join us. Everybody, this is the guy I was talking about earlier, Kris McClain, that developed the Omega Strength. Kris McClain.
You caught me with my pants down. I wasn't expecting. Now I look horrible.
Whatever. Hey, I was plugging you guys earlier for the Omega Strength business that you fired up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw you
finally watched your debut video with you and Becky, and that was pretty hilarious. But I was telling everybody about kind of what you guys were about and what you're doing with the Omega Strength venture. You want to elaborate on that a little bit? I know you guys have posted some videos already.
Yeah.
Becky's had some insight, and you're actually doing a lot of mobility stuff on there. I saw I didn't get to watch the video yet, but you're doing something vulgar with an exercise ball, something about hip flexibility for the drive out there or something. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And they're it was just a example of one of my staples that I do for hip day. Anything that involves hips, with strongman, it's almost everything.
Right.
But especially on squat deadlift day, just a good hip or hip opener, blah, that targets more of the groin, which for me personally is a very tight issue, and
Right.
it does bring a lot of tension into my quads and everything else. So, and definitely, you know, for people that are driving, because at this point, unless you are in the, you know, eastern area, that's a long drive. That trek
Right.
across the park is killer. So,
Yes.
so yeah, I mean, you know, I'd recommend people getting in a hotel room and trying to get this done the night before, leading into it, and even throughout
Sure.
the day. But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. We want to, you know, not just come across as the apparel line, but also provide information to the community that not everybody knows. You know, Becky got hit up on several different times on private messages wanting to know what can we do getting out there. You know, who do I see? And a lot
Right.
of these guys, you know, you can take care of yourself. It's just a matter of getting the knowledge and information out there.
That's
And
right.
that's part of our mission, is we just want to try to bring a level of support out the best that we can.
And that's great. That's, like I said, when I watched your debut video, it was, you know, kind of the same reason that we're doing this Average Joe Strongman show, is just to, number one, bring awareness to sport, but to support the athletes. And you guys are doing this at a whole nother level that's worth its weight in gold. And I was saying earlier on the podcast that, you know, talking just specifically about Becky and, you know, how valuable she's been to the strongman sport. And,
Yeah.
you know, she saved my life at 2016 Nationals. I had a calf cramp, and I thought I was going to have to drop after the Conan's wheel event. And in less than 5 minutes, she had me back to 100%. And, you know, she's done that for so many people on so many occasions that, you know, you guys now putting that out there.
Events where it's not just even the athletes, it's even the people working the event.
Right.
Because that's just as great. The helpers, you know, they get abused more than the athletes.
Hey, sorry, I lost the feed for some reason. Kris McClain must have.
It's no.
Kris McClain must have infected my iPad with a virus or something. So, anyway, hopefully everybody's back. There's Vaccio. Let me see if I can add him. Anyway, Kris, if you're back watching again, Kris, thanks for joining us. And I'll bring you back on here in a little while. Let me see if I can get Vaccio back on here again now that I've been disrupted and feed cut. No, still can't. So I'm going to bring Kris back. Yeah. Technical difficulties. All right, Kris, I'm trying to add you back on. Sorry, I got cut off, dude. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
I think your iPhone or whatever you have infected me with a virus, and now you're back. So
Thanks, Trump.
And conversely, the ceiling fan behind your head makes it look like you got one of them spinny hats on. So that's awesome.
There we go. It's a fez with a propeller on top.
Okay, so continue where you were going.
Well, no, and you know, I appreciate you, you know, saying the level of support. My dog's got a squeaky toy right now, so
Awesome.
That's just our goal, is to try to do it, and like you guys, we want to start raising the bar when it comes to this stuff and challenging other businesses, other people in the community to step up a little bit and,
Right.
you know, start bringing better support, not only to the athletes, but to the promoters as well. You know, that's a big goal of ours. Is it's not always about setting up a booth and selling T-shirts. It's about just helping these guys get shows put on. And the promoters, that's a hard row to hoe.
Yeah, it's, you know, and especially for the guys that are promoting it. And I think back to when I first got into Strongman back in 2013, how, you know, Strongman is still pretty much an underground sport. There's not a lot of people that know about it. At least, you know, the amateur Strongman exists other than World Strongman. I think back 2013 when I first got into it, and I think, my God, you know, nobody knew anything about it. You know, it was so far deep underground. And then to think that, you know, just in the past 5 years, how much the sport has grown and how much more, how many more people know about it, and the stuff that you guys are doing to try to build the sport, and what we're trying to do here to build the sport. The more people that get on board with doing stuff like that, it's just going to make it grow even faster and faster. Another thing we were talking about, my brother and I were talking about, was how good it was for Hafthor Bjornsson to win World's Strongest Man this year.
Yeah.
He's a public celebrity already, right?
Yeah.
So just by him winning World's Strongest
That
Man,
brought a lot of variety.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just look at the exposure that the sport of strongman has gotten just from him winning World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So no, what you guys doing is great, and everybody already knows that Becky is 10 times worth her weight in gold. She saved so many of us and taught us so much over the past couple of years that, like I said, she's saved me at competitions, more times than I can count. And
yeah,
for you guys to, expand on that and, post some videos for the average strongman that can help them perform better and enjoy the sport more, because, for the moral majority of us, it's a hobby, right? I mean,
yeah.
Kris, you're a Masters strongman competitor. I mean, you're not taking home $10,000 purses at every competition you go to, and neither am I. So,
yeah,
we do this for the love of the sport. So,
yeah, and that's just it. If we could teach people how to have longevity in the sport. Sorry, I'm trying to pull away from my dog because she's squeaking it like crazy. But yeah, to bring longevity.
Becky's yelling at you on the.
Yeah. So that's
there's
just an aspect of it.
And that's the other part of it too, especially for guys like you and I that are up in the Masters class. That for us, it's almost all about longevity. How much longer are we going to be able to do this? And be competitive. So.
Yeah,
it's definitely what you guys are doing is definitely going to help everybody, and I'm just thrilled that you guys are doing it and do anything we can to support you. So
well, yeah, we appreciate it. It's just our way of just trying to give back the best we can.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like you said, she does a world of good for everything. I just do the sport just because I enjoy it and have fun, and actually I enjoy just being around it.
Right.
But as far as her, I mean, that's her fun time to go to a competition and volunteer to help to be there for the athletes.
And that's
for the hugs.
So invaluable. You have no idea how much, like I said, for the athletes that, first time I met Becky, and I was just beside myself that, she's here doing what she does as a profession to help us, and it's just amazing. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, man. I saw you jump on, so I wanted to bring you on so you could say a little bit more about Omega Strength. And
well, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I like what you've got going on here, especially with the live feeds.
Yeah, something a little bit different. So
yeah,
it's worth a shot. So, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go. Try and get Vachi on here one more damn time.
All right.
We're gonna cut it off. So,
all right.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lee. Bye.
All right, one more time. If I can't get Vachi on here, then you can just kiss my ass. No, he can kiss. He's not even on anymore. So I'm gonna finish up and bring. We're gonna close this up. All right, so he's back, and he's back on his bike.
Yep.
So, I had the opportunity to bring Kris on. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, he and Becky have started Omega Strength, and they're doing some really great things as far as supporting the strongman athletes. And if you get the opportunity, go check it out.
Yeah.
They're everybody knows who Becky is. If they don't, then she's just a magician as far as mobility goes. And Kris has done a lot of research himself on mobility and focused it towards strength athletes that can help us perform better. It's always great information. So so we're 2 weeks away from USS Nationals, actually, I think next week is most all the USS athletes deload week. So I'll finally get my brother Jim Morris on here, and we're going to talk about the transition between programming from other sports to strongman. Jim came out of bodybuilding, I'm pretty sure, and then transitioned into strongman. So it's going to be interesting to get his take on, you know, how he made that transition and what that did to his specific programming. And we're going to breach back onto a little bit on the bulldozer and get some insight from Jim on what he's done.
And then you talk about that block training also, don't you?
Sorry?
You want to talk about that block training also?
Yeah. Cliff, my brother Cliff here is, I forgot to tell everybody before I started bringing him on, he's got a sadistic mind, so he's come up with another variant of the bulldozer program that is more brutal than the bulldozer program. So he was telling me about it earlier this week, and it is absolutely just, it's a horrific version of bulldozer. And Mike Lohman, if you're on, you'll appreciate that this
just
is
a way to be more intimate with it, that's all. Just a way to bring your mind into it, that's all.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's like a ticking time bomb is what it sounds like to me, but
yeah, it sure is.
We'll talk about that next week. But closing up, if I don't get a chance, and I'll do it again next week, good luck to all the competitors heading up to New York for United States Strongman Nationals. I believe there's one from River City that's going out to compete, Michaela. So we'll be wishing her good luck. And thanks for watching. Like I say every week, if anybody's got any ideas on future podcasts, or things that you want to talk about, if you got questions on anything that we've talked about, all the live feeds, and I'll connect these two videos together. And I apologize, I don't have last week's up on YouTube yet because I'm still stitching those together. I'll stitch these two together and post the YouTube video. Come out and see us this Saturday. If you don't want to compete, come out and watch. River City Barbell is a team challenge, team showdown Saturday. That'll be a lot of fun. You need to get a hold of me. You can get me here on Facebook, or you can email me direct at lee.woody@twc.com, or you can catch me on Instagram at Kentucky Strongman. And next week, like I said, hopefully we'll have Mr. Jim Morris on. He's going to give us his insight on transitioning from bodybuilding to strongman, and hopefully tell us how his training's been going. He is actually competing next weekend as well. What the hell was I thinking? Jim's competing next weekend, or in 2 weeks at USS Nationals in the lightweight masters division, and he's just going to go there and freaking dominate it. Jim is, for anybody that watched him in North Carolina last December, you know, he was 10th overall in the world competing against guys like Zadrunas Savickas, Nick Best, Ken McClellan. You know, out of I think there was 30 athletes in his class, and he was able to pull enough points ahead to make it to the second day in the top 10. And, you know, these guys are all 300, 350 pounds. Jim walks around steady at like 240 pounds, and he just went in there, and we call him the giant killer. He's just absolutely amazing. So we're going to have him on next week. And he'll be competing at USS Nationals, going for his pro card this year. And Michaela will be there for the heavyweight women's class. So be two members of the Iron Silent team heading out there to dominate USS Nationals. So that should be fun. We're going to talk to them next week. And like I said, any questions, comments, concerns, anybody that's got requests for topics for the upcoming podcast, shoot them to me and we'll get them thrown in there. Nothing on this podcast is taboo to talk about. Almost nothing. Vaccio, you're not included. But we'll do it all again. All right, until next week, people. Stay strong, my friends. Thanks, Cliff.
Yep, take it easy.